Hi, so here we are again, and we are going to go away from Panama. We are going to not talk about the Caribbean. What we're going to do is talk about a Canadian rum that I quite liked. So the first thing is that ever since I returned back to the country in January of 2023, I've been looking for Canadian rums that actually kind of like take us to the next level. And I haven't really found that many. So there are so many badly made or cheaply made, I shouldn't say badly, cheaply made white rums in particular that absolutely do nothing for anybody except, and they even kind of like destroy a cocktail because there's just like nothing there. You might as well just get a Bacardi. And yet these things, of course, are low price. They sell to the masses, and therefore they continue selling, and that's what gets stocked. But I just think that we owe it to ourselves to do a little bit better. And I think Canada actually has a distilling culture that's starting to take off, very much like Australia or the UK, where individual little companies that could really are making some incredible stuff out there. And one of them is actually located right here in Calgary, and that's Romero Distilling. Now, Romero makes three different kinds of rum. They make an amber rum, which is about 2 years in the tooth. They make a dark rum, which is actually a spice rum, even though they don't say it is, also aged 2 years in the tooth. And I kind of looked at both of them, and I really wasn't that impressed with them. But they do make one that blew me off the face of the map, and that was their sherry cask finish cask strength rum. Now, this is a rum that is just about 4 years old. They never actually told me what it was, how old it was. They wanted to de-emphasize this fixation on numbers, so they kind of like played coy with me. But it's about 4 years old, and it's actually double aged, which is to say 2 years in ex-Woodford Reserve barrels and another 2 years in ex-sherry barrel, first fill sherry barrels that had just been emptied out of Jerez Oloroso, in point of fact. And then they issue this little sucker off of a pot still configuration on their hybrid still at 57%. Now, those stats by themselves are really quite impressive because there's so few companies that do this kind of thing. I mean, they take their molasses, and it's usually Crosby molasses out of Guatemala that they get via New Brunswick, and then they kind of like just do a 2-3 day fermentation, and then they just put whatever it is out the door, and that's Bob's your uncle. And I've seen a lot of those, and I'm really not impressed. But this rum is one of the best Canadian rums I've ever had, and I've had quite a few. I just haven't written about all of them. So let me just give you some background on the tasting notes and the company. The company was formed in 2018 by Diego Romero. He was an immigrant from Spain, in point of fact. And he and his son created the company, and they kind of like played around a little bit, and they got their equipment, and they actually have their operation not too far from where I go shopping in Heritage Drive. They actually have classes there where you can do your own blend and you can play around with this stuff. It's really quite an interesting little operation, and it's really quite low key, which I find rather surprising. Be that as it may, they have a 2,000 liter hybrid still, which is to say a sort of like a column still that can be dialed into a configuration for a pot still, three 2,000 liter fermenters. They use Crosby molasses out of Guatemala, which they get from the New Brunswick company. And essentially, they have made a rum here that has an incredible strength of 57%. It smells just really, really nice. I mean, it's got coffee. It's got de-emphasizes the fruit a little bit more. In turn, it gives you more tannins, burnt caramel, a little bit of chewing gum, cereals, rye. They've got some dates and cinnamon and spices of that nature. It's really, really quite a nice little dram. And then when you go to when you go to taste it, okay, it's a little bit fierce at 57%. Nothing you can't handle, trust me. You really can't take this sucker neat, or if you really want to, you can dilute it with some ice or whatever. It's prunes, it's plums, it's dark fruit, it's coconut, cereals, chocolate, unsweetened chocolate, which is to say some almonds, crushed walnuts, that kind of thing. It's got a little bit of that sherry influence, which is really nice, red grapes, very dark, a little bit of port infused tobacco, that kind of thing. It's really, really nice. And the finish it's nice. What can I tell you about it? So this thing costs in Calgary about $80, right? Canadian, which would put it around what, $55 US if you were to get it. I think it's worth the money. I think it's one of the best rums I've had from Canada. I think it's absolutely worth your time. I can't remember whether it was a limited edition or not. This is actually batch one. I tried it at the Rocky Mountain Food and Drinks Festival, and they were one of two people that were actually exhibiting rums at all. It was well worth my time. And I can remember running over to Karamazumba from Bira and saying, "Oh shit, Carl, you got to try this, man! You this is like unbelievable," and it really is. It's such a pleasure to find something, I guess, after some of the dreck that I've had to try here that isn't worthy of the name. So. I am a bit enthusiastic. I do rate it 86 points. I think it's absolutely worth your time. And if you can get it, I hope you enjoy it as much as I did. And leave a comment if you disagree with me in any way on this one. But if you do or you don't, just enjoy it no matter what. And that's it for today. Thanks very much for watching. Bye-bye.